Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Are the presenters in?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Many presenters are in. So we'll present the first session.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the second?
Me, sir.
Oh, Felicia, yeah. The second, Felicia.
Yes, sir. Felicia.
First, the possession. Who is the possession?
The third will be me, sir.
Yeah, the third is Linda, yeah.
Linda, sir.
Linda, yeah. And the first? Ada, yeah.
Me, sir. Yeah.
Ada, yeah. Okay. So the places are complete. Okay, please before we start, please, Felicia, please give the opening comment, please. Felicia, please.
Okay, so good afternoon, sir, and all of my friends. It is great that I can see all of you again in this class. Today, I would like to say best of luck for all the presenters today. And for my other friends, always stay focused. I hope we can learn much new knowledge today. Thank you, sir.
Dita Larasati. Dita Larasati. Are you in, Dita? Hello, Dita. You're not in? Okay, Rido.
Okay, good afternoon, sir, and my friend. Good to see you guys. I hope the presentation will run well, and good luck for the presenter who will deliver material. Thank you.
Ellen.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Good luck for the day. Stay healthy, everyone.
Aldari Putri.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good luck for the presenter. Me, Felicia, and Linda. Thank you.
Okay. Paradina Putri.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Sir Adi and all my friends. And good luck for today presenter. And yeah, thank you.
Robi. Robi Chandra.
So, hello everyone, good afternoon. Great to see all of you again, and good luck to presenters today, Alda, Felicia, and Binda. Hope you guys can present it well. Thank you.
Okay. Eric Chandra. Eric Parulian. Eric Parulian. Are you in? Eric Parulian. Pelagia. Halo Pelagia. No present ya. Is Klonoval? Is Klonoval? Oh ya.
Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, Sir Adi and friends. It's great to see you all again. Let me say good luck for the presenter today. Thank you.
Okay. Linda, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, Sir Adi and all of my friends. Alda and Felicia presentations.
Okay. Mayang. Mayang Sari. Hello, Mayang. Are you in?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So I want to say good luck for today's presenter, and it's nice to meet you again. And yeah, thank you.
Okay. Paromika, please. Paromika. No. Dela. Dan Kumara, please. Dela. Are you in? No present yet. Bella? Megawati?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Sir Ade and friends. I hope the class will run well and good luck for the presenters today. Thank you.
Egi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you again, and good luck for the presenter today. Thank you.
Okay, those the first session is handled by Adaya. I want to make Alda as the host. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, Alda, take your time. Yeah, it is your time to present your topic and screen your PowerPoint.
Okay. You can see my slide, guys.
Yes, Alda.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, sir, Adi, and friends. Today I will present a presentation about Chapter 12, Force Ranking, Pros, Cons, and Practices. And this is the definition of force ranking. The term force ranking is frequently used by the popular press, employment professionals, and researchers to describe all force ranking systems. There are, however, various forms of force rankings. This fact should be kept in mind when considering the relevance of pros and cons as posed by supporters and critics of the system. One should also note that different writers have used different terms to describe the same variation of force ranking. For instance, that which management consultant force ranking in his 2005 book, Force Distribution. According to Groth, the term force ranking applies to those systems that operate independent of and in addition to an organization's performance appraisal process. It is variant that was made famous or infamous depending on your point of view by Jack Welch and General Electric. While process, the approach still requires from some sort of ranking distribution sense. For example, General Electric's top to 20%, Vital 70%, bottom 10%. But by being independent of the appraisal process, it serves to further highlight comparison between individuals. And next, this is the pros cons of force ranking system. Most for and against the process can be grouped in relation to four general concerns that are important to people on both sides of the debate. These are concerns for fairness and accuracy. Second is performance. Third is moral. And the last is legal compliance. For each of these areas, I will first describe the general position taken by advocates and opponents of force fairness and accuracy. Research perspective on force ranking fairness and accuracy. The point is fairness perception of force ranking are also a function of related policy and implementation practice. Operating on the premise that fairness is a key determinant of how attractive people find performance appraisal system. look at the way in which certain design characteristics affected the perceived attractiveness of force distribution rating system. They find that force distribution rating system with less stringent consequence, for example, where poorly ranked employees are not terminated, are a few more favorable. The other factor that NH perceived favorable were using a sufficiently large comparison group and ensuring that the process provide for frequent feedback. They also found some important individual differences that tended to shape reaction. Females were less attracted than males to force distribution system when the consequence of poor performance were more stringent. Not surprisingly, people with higher cognitive ability tended to value systems that highly differentiated reward in relation to ranking. This research reinforced that the fact that system design features no matter and that organizations should carefully consider the unique characteristic of their workforce and trait they wish to attract. At the same time, keep in mind that this was a policy capturing study using college students as subject. While they are representative of an important recruiting target for many organizations that are not necessarily representative of a more experienced workforce that may be taken other factors into account when making judgment related to fairness. And this is the strategic consideration of fairness and accuracy. The first one is carefully assess the accuracy of existing appraisal process. Determine whether later inflation or other inaccuracies are pervasive in problems. Also assess why other efforts to correct them may have failed. The second is take stock of employee and manager perception. Know what they value about existing performance management process and employee development programs. Also understand what they find to be most troubling. Carefully consider fairness perception with regard to existing practices. And the third is consider the corporate culture and what might need to change for it to better support candid feedback and constructive conflict. And the fourth is make sure that workforce to be ranked is large enough and that there is sufficient variability in performance to justify using force ranking. And the fifth is make sure your management team can agree on the criteria for ranking employee performance. 6. Develop plans for training people and monitoring to use of force ranking. And the last is consider how force ranking will likely be perceived by the kinds of people you want to attract to your organization. And this is the second point is performance improvement. According to its proponents, force ranking process contribute to improve performance in several important ways. At its heart, the process is about differentiating between talents level, between individual, but also between group and departments in ways that absolute performance appraisal cannot. When done correctly, this differentiation ensures that company resources are directed toward those who contribute the most and or have the potential to make a positive difference. These resources include compensation and other rewards like promotion, leadership development, and training support in general. They might also include support in the form of resources to get a job done. Overall, they argue the process better ensure that company can get an optimal returns on its investment in human capital. And Jack Welch has explained, a company that bets its future on its people must remove the lower 10% and keep moving it every year, always raising the bar of performance and increasing the quality of its leadership. And many of the critics pertaining of how force ranking system affect performance also related to broader arguments suggesting that corporate America has at its overemphasized individual talent and achievement as key to success. For instance, in discussing potential risks from the use of force ranking system, the growth knowledge present point from Malcolm Gladwell's 2002. New York is essay entitled "The Talent Myth." Group done write great novel, and committee didn't come up with the theory of relativity, but company work by different rules. They don't just create, they execute that, compete and coordinate the effort of many different people, and the organization that are most successful at the task are the ones of the system or individual in the step. And next, this is the research perspective on force ranking and performance. When it comes to performance improvement, proponents and critics of force ranking have both found support for their position within the limited research that does exist. One study demonstrating the efficacy of force ranking approaches was conducted by Schallenberg and Eamon Smith 2005, using a well-crafted simulation that took into account reasonable estimate for factors like selection validity, selection ratios, and voluntary turnover. These researchers were able to demonstrate that by repeatedly removing the ranking in the bottom percentage of a given workforce, organization could potentially attain significant gains in overall performance and productivity. The researchers demonstrate continual, albeit at decreasing rates, improvement over a 10-year period, with most of the gains occurring within the first 3.5 to 4.5 years. And this is the strategic consideration of performance improvement. First is make sure you understand. First is make sure you understand the kinds of behavior. For example, individual effort and achievement versus the teamwork that drive performance and how they might be affected by force ranking. The second is not all company culture can easily absorb force ranking. It seems best suited to aggressive, competitive, and fast-paced cultures. Collaborative or bureaucratic culture will have to make more adjustment. And the third is develop plans that clarify how you will devote resources to employee development based on ranking results. Establish separate plans for the top performance, mid-level performance, and crew performance. And the last is take current turnover rate into consideration, especially if you plan to use ranking to determine, understand the costs associated with turnover in your organization, and carefully consider whether your organization can tolerate more turnover and its suitable replacement are available. And the third is employee morale. As has been the case regarding fairness, accuracy, and performance, force ranking supporters and critics both have a reasonable point to make when it comes to the way in which the system can influence employee attitude and morale. On one hand, proponents of their focus on the perspective of the performance, who they assert are finally able to get rewards and recognition they deserve. First ranking, critics focus some of their concern on the way in which the process affects the morale and attitude of those not rated among the top. They stress that too often the process leaves lower rank, personal angry and bewildered, and unable to reconcile the first ranking outcomes with the fact that they have been receiving good to effective performance rating throughout their career. In many cases, an employee can win up by being ranked at the bottom, even though he or she has performed well and met his or her objective over a given period of time. First ranking support do acknowledge the need to treat people with dignity regardless of where they are ranked. They stress that most companies do not immediately fire those ranked at the bottom, and the many will design force ranking system incorporate coaching and development in the ways in which low rank employees are handled. They are also, however, quick to point out that keeping poor performance around for too long, for example, more than one cycle of ranking, can lower standard and drive good people away. And as not previously, critics also expressed concern for the ways in which process shape attitude toward cooperation and other helping behavior. They further suggest that using the process can seriously undermine trust between managers and their workforce, as well as the sense of overall organization commitment. At the same time, it seems overreaching to say that first ranking system definitely reduce or increase level of trust between workforce and managers. Among other things, the effect will likely depend on the nature of trust relationship when the system is implemented, the quality of existing appraisal practice, and the way in which the system aligns with company values and action. As a result, first ranking proponents stress the need to be flexible when implementing the process. This includes fully engaging managers in discussion about design criteria and consequence from using the system. It also includes being willing to adopt incremental approaching to implementation. And this is the research perspective on first ranking and morale. Going forward, there remain many opportunities to further examine how first ranking process affect morale and related effective outcomes. One important question will center on the difference between how the process influences the attitude of highly rated versus lower rated performance. Based on the argument put forth by supporters, we might expect that morale for top performance can be enhanced. Other investigation might have us to better understand the extent to which having support systems such as coaching or development planning can mitigate negative reaction that might otherwise occur. Still, other might want to consider longitudinal effects on morale of or the ways in which organizational culture determines reaction to the use of first ranking. In addition, it would have to know more about how the use of first ranking affect leader-member relationship via trust perception or perception of leaders' personal power. And this is the strategic consideration of employee morale. First is the flop plans to communicate. How the process was designed, how the first ranking process will work, what employee can expect of the managers rating them, what will be expected of them in the process. The second is don't be let first ranking become an excess that reinforce bad development practices. And the third is again consider organizational culture, especially in terms of trust and openness. And the first is understand what your organization currently does to recognize and nurture contextual behavior and teamwork. Be mindful of how first ranking might affect those efforts. And the fifth is understand what moral and currently like for top performance and also other employees. Six is look for opportunities to provide employee with a voice in the process. Appeal process, self-assessment. And the seventh is develop plans to integrate first ranking with development initiative and other programs that support employee effort to improve. And the last is if first ranking is not being used for development, make sure employee understand how development is support by other performance management system. And the last is legal consideration. Like employment practice, first ranking process are subject to law protecting employees against discrimination. For example, Title Civil Rights Act of 1999, Discrimination in Employment Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Moreover, it is important to keep in mind that in addition to federal laws, state law also apply, which in some cases give greater latitude when it comes to both bringing and providing claims of discrimination. Among the various kinds of discrimination that occur in the workplace, first ranking has been most susceptible to claim of age discrimination under the federal government's Age Discrimination in Employment Act, or ADEA, and similar state laws. Virtually all of these cases have centered on claims of adverse impact, scenarios in which an employment practice, while not designed to intentionally discriminate, nonetheless has a discriminatory effect on a member of a protected group, which in the case of the ADEA, area employees over age 40. Taken together, the results of this case suggest that forced ranking is a clearly defensible practice when implemented with care. At the same time, those considering forced ranking should recognize that the process may expose them to the potential cost and bad press the company's discrimination lawsuit. And this is the strategic consideration of legal consideration. First is keep legal counsel apprised of your plans. Second is conduct a thorough review of existing appraisal process. Try to identify any marginal employee with a history of good appraisal. And look for any biases in relation to membership in a protected class. And the third is introduce the ranking process gradually, starting at the top. Fourth is to reduce suspicions, openly communicate the system objective and how it operates. Fifth is establish clear guidelines for ranking session, guard agents in appropriate comments, ensure ranking criteria are used consistently and objectively. The sixth in try to incorporate multiple sources of information when possible. Peer assessment, 360-degree feedback results. And the seventh is make sure that title and position of those to be ranked are comparable. For example, don't put first line supervisor, administrative assistant, and vice president in the same ranking pool. And the eighth ranking decisions are best made by managers who have direct experience with those being ranked. Nine, provide extensive training for raters. And the 10, establish for system for reviewing ranking results. And the last, if the process is being used to determine over reasonable, if not generous, severance and package. And this is the key implementation step. Important themes in this chapter have been part of the controversy surrounding forced rating as well as a function of how it is implemented. For a detailed discussion of how to implement a forced ranking process, I will outline some important design and implementation steps. First is system design. The first one is decide how you are going to use ranking. Keep in mind that some organizations have chosen to use forced distribution as a tool to regulate rating within their existing performance appraisal process. Others, for example, GE, use forced ranking as a process that is independent of but complementary to the appraisal process. For instance, stress that if you plan to use forced ranking, you should first make sure you have improved the content and mechanic of your appraisal process. And second is determine the consequence you will want to associate with ranking result, termination, promotion, development planning, and others, and when those consequences will start to take effect. Many organizations have elected to implement the process gradually, either by using it first for senior personnel or by incrementally introducing consequence. You will also want to think about how frequently you will conduct rankings. More organizations do it on an annual basis. Other decisions will include defining the ranking pool. Comparability is important, with some organizations using titles or salary grades as the basis for making this decision. Those doing the ranking should include managers who have direct responsibility for the people being ranked. And the third is ensuring that the criteria used for ranking decision are clearly job-related is critical. Some organizations rank employee in relation to discrete competencies that may be weighted in order to obtain an overall rank. As mentioned earlier, others rely on relatively few broader criteria that reflect important organizational values and standards. One common approach is similar to that used by Amgen. They use a 9 grade based on how they are ranked in relation to whether their behavior exceeds, meets, or fails to meet standards, and whether their result exceeds, meet, or fail to meet standards. Others also factor in potential or for development as an important rank criterion. And the last is, as previously discussed, decision about communication have a legal implication. It will be important to let people know why and how the system was designed, who will be affected, and what the consequences are. And this is the system implementation. First is rates should be trained on how interpret rating criteria, on how to make accurate behavioral observation, and on the mechanic of participating in ranking discussion. This training is especially important when part of the rationale for introducing the process is to reduce rating inflation and other bases. And the second is the ranking session themselves need to be well designed. Using a facilitator is highly recommended, and the session should be constructed to ensure that the discussion about each employee are highly specific in relation to ranking criteria. Some organizations provide rankers with briefing books to be used as starting points. Expect a ranking session to be lengthy and impatient discussion. And the last is organizations need to have clear and somewhat standardized procedures that define the discussion they will have with employee after they have been ranked. Depend comes, the discussion will have to be clear about implication for termination, further development, and ongoing responsibilities. And this is the conclusion. Ultimately, for any given enterprise, decision about whether or how to use force ranking will likely come down to one of culture, fit, and or commitment to a change. The force ranking debate exemplifies how the practice of performance management challenges used to balance organizational performance requirements with concern for personal dignity and development. Even as they pertain to force ranking, these two issues need to be at odds, but maintaining that balance certainly requires further thought and hard work. And in this section, I have 3 questions for you guys. The first question, in your opinion, why the first ranking process should be made as transparent as possible? And the second is, in your opinion, why managers' reaction and personal characteristic need to be taken into account when deciding whether or how to pass, how force ranking affect accuracy and fairness perception based on your opinion? Anyone can answer the question.
Hello, Alda. Can I try to answer?
Yes, Felicia.
Number 1.
Yes, sure.
Okay,
Hey,
so
Alda.
okay.
Yes, Mayang. For what?
Okay.
Felicia
Can
first.
I try to answer number 2?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I'll try number 3.
Okay.
Okay, so I would like to try to answer number 1. So force ranking process should be as transparent as possible in order to combat the very natural negative reactions many employees are likely to experience. So here, transparency will foster trust, and transparency is important for a harmonious relationship between employer and employees. This transparency in force ranking process should include clarity about the criteria for ranking decisions and the people involved in making those decisions as well. So this is the example of what. Oh, thank you, Alda.
Thank you for the answer. Bella?
Yes, I
Okay,
want.
answer.
Yes. So the question is, in your opinion, why managers' reactions and personal characteristics need to be taken into account when deciding whether or how to introduce force ranking? My answer is, I think the researchers also suggest that their results argue for moving slowly and allowing managers and employees time to get used to the force ranking approaches before attaching administrative consequences like terminations, promotions, and pay. And then another result could have significant note that their findings would support the view that force ranking approaches should not be used unless there is good reasons to believe that there is considerable performance variability among those to be ranked. But includes good reasons to performance variability among those to be ranked. That's all for my answer, Alda. Thank you.
Maya?
Okay, I'll try to answer
You can answer
number 3. So the question is, how force ranking affects accuracy and fairness perception based on my opinion. So based on my opinion, on such set of questions may pertain to ways in which assimilation and contrast effect influence subsequent ranking of rates. So we can like open research question and clearly about the fairness and matters to people on both sides of the force ranking debate. While the above discussion doesn't provide definite answer, it does highlight key fairness consideration that organizations need to be thinking about when exploring the use of force ranking system. So it's like we open the research questions, just like observation, research, or assessment that can help the accuracy, the level of the accuracy. That's all my opinion. Thank you. That's all my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. And I open 3 questions. You can ask.
Hi, Alda.
Yes, Leka.
Okay, I would like to ask about, do you agree that the system will influence how the flock is good? And can you give the reason? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone?
Hello, Alda.
Who? Farah?
Hello, Alda.
Yes.
So, how force ranking process affect moral and related affective outcomes? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Alda.
There. Oh, hello.
I would like to ask, can you give your opinion about how performance appraisal affect trust? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dela. Okay, I will try to answer the Leka's question. Leka's question is, do you agree that the system will influence how development is pursued? Yes, I agree that the system will influence how development is pursued, but not always in ways that are in the interest of the organization or its employees. As Ed Lawler has observed, the process can make it difficult to devote attention toward developing further talent. It hardly makes sense for managers to invest in developing individuals who are marginal performance when they believe that in a very short time they will have to eliminate the employees whom they develop. Another critic note that under such a system, those in the middle rank, the bulk of an organization workforce, frequently receive the least development attention. In many cases, those at the bottom may receive coaching or the benefit of other intervention to help them redeem their performance. Likewise, those at the top are also supported, while those in the middle are left to contemplate the fact at the fact that they are just considered to be average. That's my answer, Leka. Are you got it?
Okay, thank you for the answer, Alda.
You're welcome. And I will answer the Farah's question. Farah's question is how first ranking process affect moral and related effective outcomes. Based on the argument put forth by supporters, we might expect the moral for top performance can be enhanced. Other investigation might help us to better understand the extent to which having support system, such as coaching or development planning, can mitigate negative reaction that may otherwise occur. Still, others may want to consider longitudinal effect on moral or the ways in which organizational culture determine reaction to the use of first ranking. In addition, it would have to know more about how the use of first ranking affects leader-member relationship via trust perception and perception of a leader's personal power. Are you got it, Farah? That's my answer.
Okay, thank you, Alda.
You're welcome. And the last question from Dela. Dela question is, can you give your opinion about how performance appraisal process affect trust? I think that perception of trust can influence employee satisfaction, behavior, and performance. Those considering the use of first rating needs to understand employees' perceptions of the appraisal process that are on the one hand, on the other should work to ensure that something is new. System is considered accurate and instrumental. Management must be able to convey how the enforced rating process and or aspect of the performance management system will ensure that assessments are based on detailed information, allow constructive feedback, and offer development opportunities. That's my answer, Dela. Are you got it?
Okay, thank you for your answer. I get it.
Thank you. And that's all my presentation. Thank you for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Sir, your mic is off.
Hello, sir. We can't hear your voice because, yeah.
Okay. So all of us have got Alda's presentation, so it's good. And Aldas has invoked 6 students to talk, to discuss. So we talk, Aldas talk about the force distribution and force ranking, right? So
Yes.
what was the difference between force ranking and force distribution? So the question is it effective if the post ranking is applied in this big company or in a small company, in your opinion? So what is post ranking? So post ranking is like the person-to-person evaluation, right? Person-to-person evaluation is post ranking. Right? The other term is person-to-person evaluation. So the evaluation must be fair and must be accurate, right? So the position must be fair and accurate. So post ranking is effective when it is used in small companies, right? In small business entities. Why? Because the evaluation must be done person to person. So you can imagine if the company has 200 employees or 1,000 people in the company, how can you evaluate person to person, right? It is not effective, right? So post ranking is effective in a small company, but in big companies it's not effective. So we can use the post distribution, right? Because distribution is the kind of distribution is agreed by the organization by using categories of performance. Very good, yeah, like that, good, bad, and very bad, by using on the population. So like, for example, the company has 5 departments, right? The company has 5 departments, and each department must evaluate the employees, right? And then they report to the top management about the performance, yeah? So it is more effective, yeah. So when your company is big, it is better use the post distribution, right? But if your company is small, you can use post ranking because post ranking refers to the person-to-person evaluation. Yeah, but if you want to do post ranking, yeah, post ranking, yeah, you must be fair, and you must be accurate, right? Sometimes it is depend on the personal, yeah, personal. You must compare, yeah, you must compare all the people in your company, select one by one. It is post ranking, select compare the performance, set one by one employee, yeah, one employee, also you must compare all of them. Yeah, so it's not, so if your company is big, it's not effective, right? Yeah, you can, because and if you use questionnaire question, and you must also give the fair perception and the accurate perception, right? Yeah, not based on like or dislike, right? If your evaluation is based on like or dislike, it's not good for the post ranking, right? Because person to person evaluation, right? Yeah. If the manager like you, so you will be evaluated good, right? But if you are acted by the managers, you will get bad performance, right? It's perception, right? So the person must be fair and accurate. If the person is not fair, it's not good, right? Yeah, the conclusion is that the difference between post ranking is effective in the small company, and in big company it is effective post distribution, right? So when you are the manager, which one will you choose? If you are the manager, post ranking or post distribution? If you are the manager, do you want to, or which one do you choose? Post ranking or post distribution? If you are the manager in a company. So for example, your company has 6 department, yeah, and each department has 12 employees. So which one do you prefer to use? Post distribution or post ranking? Anyone to give opinion?
Is it forced ranking, sir? Because only 12 people in the company.
Post ranking, why?
Because only 12 people, sir.
Only
12 people.
Okay. Why don't you use post distribution, Felicia?
Maybe for first distribution, I will use when my my employees are like more than 100 people or more than 50 people like that, sir.
Okay.
I think it's more effective and efficient.
Yeah. So when it is small, it is more effective. Yeah, post ranking. Yeah. Okay. Maybe the opinion. Can we use post ranking in a big company, in a company having more than 100 people? It can be.
I think it will not be
Yeah.
efficient, sir.
Yeah. Repeat please, yeah. What repeat your answer? Repeat.
I think it will be inefficient, sir.
Yeah.
It will be not efficient because it will take much time, take a longer time to do this course ranking.
Yeah, that's right. Because we must compare one person per person. It takes a lot of time, so that it's not efficient. Yeah. So we must use the post distribution. It is the more efficient. Yeah. If we have more than 50 people. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, it is okay. In conclusion, the presentation is good. Yeah. Yeah, it's really clear, explained by Alda, and then Alda can also inform the student to talk. Yeah, and then the student also can answer the question well, and then also give the question to Alda. Okay. And the next question is Felicia. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Make you the host, yeah, Felicia. Okay, Felicia, it is the time to present your topic. Please, just go for it.
Okay, can all of you see the slides?
Yes, Felicia.
And is it moving?
No.
No, Feli.
No, okay, so I think
Still on your cover.
Okay, wait. Let me try one more time. Is it moving now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So let me start. Good afternoon, sir, and all of my friends. My name is Felicia, and today I'm going to explain to you to give you an overview about technology and performance management. So let's start with technology of the past. So what role has technology previously played in performance management? So before there are two technology previously played, which are electronic performance monitoring and telecommuting and performance management. So what is electronic performance monitoring? EPM includes the surveillance, measurement, recording, and compilation of work-related activities of employees using electronic means. Thus, EPM primarily contributes to the effort to measure performance by indicators such as productivity, accuracy, speed, and errors. And the second one is telecommuting and performance management. Insight into the performance management challenges and best practices for telecommuting workers should also be incorporated into the design and use of automated performance management systems, specifically systems that are meant to serve employees working in virtual, distributed, or global environments. Next, technology as an enabler. How does technology support the goals and purposes of performance management? Aguinis in 2007 identified the following 6 purposes of a performance management system. First is strategic purposes. For a performance management system to serve a strategic purpose, the critical characteristic is for an individual employee's goals to be aligned with those of the overall organization. The second one is administrative purposes. For a performance management system to effectively serve an administrative purpose, data in the system must be available to inform administrative decisions made about employees, for example, like salary adjustments, recognition of exemplary performance. Next, the third one is informational purposes. The use of technology for a performance management system arguably support the proposed best. By nature, A technology-based performance management system allows for the continuous process of performance management and also the continuous communication of information collected through the performance management process. The fourth one is developmental purposes. Another purpose of a performance management system is to provide developmental feedback to employees for both immediate short-term use as well as long-term career planning. In addition to an automated system supporting the provision of general performance feedback on an ongoing basis, it can also serve as a way to collect performance feedback on a project basis. The fifth one is organizational maintenance purposes. So this organizational maintenance as a purpose of a performance management system refers to workforce planning activities that require insight into the current status and future needs of an organization's human capital. Undoubtedly, an automated performance management solution offers the benefit of having performance data across the enterprise in an aggregated form and available for interpretation. The sixth one is documentational purposes. Of all the purposes of a performance management system, the purpose of documentation is probably the primary use, or at least one of the central foci of many performance management systems. Surely, paper-based performance management systems serve this purpose through carefully maintained employee files. Next, we talk about technology's role in the process. How does technology facilitate the different components of the performance management process? So again, Aguinis in 2007 proposed that the process of performance management involves 6 steps, which are prerequisites, performance planning, performance execution, performance assessment, performance review, and performance renewal and recontracting. In general, technology offers opportunities to execute these steps in an efficient and effective manner. So first is prerequisites. Technology may assist in developing and communicating the organization's mission and priorities, as well as ensuring that unit level missions and priorities are in alignment with the organization as a whole. Next, the second one is performance planning. Technology may be used to assist an employee and manager in virtually creating and storing a performance plan. By using shared electronic workspaces such as those available through Google Apps and Microsoft Office Live Workspace, the plan may be created, modified, and updated by either party, while the other person at a different location actually watches in real time as the changes are made. The third one is performance execution. So electronic performance monitoring, or APM, based on objectives determined cooperatively by the employee and manager, can report current performance status to both employee and manager portals. In addition, the prioritization of goals and projects can be frequently reviewed and updated if this information is available via an automated platform. Next, the fourth one is performance assessment. So EPM and goal tracking software can collect a variety of metrics across time, avoiding the error of weighing a recent performance more heavily on appraisals. So HRIT systems may assist not only in analyzing a variety of performance indicators, but also in generating the narrative that is included in individual feedback reports. The fifth one is performance review. So technology has ample opportunity to enhance the performance review, meaning by fostering more positive attitudes and increasing the effectiveness of performance feedback. So technologies such as video conferencing or web conferencing may be used. Next, the sixth one is performance renewal and recontracting. So broader system data are used to identify necessary changes in individual performance goals based on the cascading of new organizational and departmental strategic priorities. Performance data should be stored in such a way that a graphical view of an employee's performance trends over time could be created. The seventh one is succession planning. So data generated through the 6 performance management stages I told you just now is stored in a performance management system and can be used to identify and track high potential employees, determine and offer developmental opportunities, and establish potential mentoring relationships. Next, we talk about technology as a challenge. So what complications does technology create in the performance management process? So first is information overload. The second one is overexposure. The third one is time requirements. The fourth one is over-reliance on automation. The fifth one is miscommunication. And the sixth one is technology literacy. Next, we talk about taking technology system-wide. How do you implement a technology-based performance management system? So here are 4 things you can do. First is decide whether to buy or build. The second one is use change management strategies. The third one is remember that content is king. And the fourth one is keep integration in mind. Next is technology best practices. What are the best practice recommendations for using technology for performance management purposes? First is by capitalizing on the benefits. So how to capitalize on the benefits? First, use technology capabilities to allow ready access to performance management information across the enterprise. Second, use technological capabilities to disseminate performance management information to a wide group of stakeholders and alert those stakeholders when the information is updated. The third one is use technology capabilities to aggregate performance data and integrate performance information with data housed in other human resource applications. The fourth one is use technology capabilities to facilitate the continuous process of performance management, whereby performance data are consistently entered, accessed, updated, and used for performance management purposes. For example, here is providing performance feedback. Next, use technology capabilities to document performance-related conversations and actions. And then use technology capabilities to automate recasts for performance feedback on a project basis. And then use technology capabilities to support the summarization, analysis, and interpretation of performance data. And last is use technology capabilities to offer access to positions, competencies, and provide career pathing tools that allow employees to specify career paths in alignment with development plans and targeted position competencies. The second one you can do is by avoiding the complications. So how to avoid the complications? First is by considering system requirements, in this case, hardware and software, to ensure system performance is optimal and not characterized by slow response times. The second one is create a user-friendly interface that offers employees an opportunity for efficient and effective interaction with the performance management system. Next is incorporate feature functionality that will rely on visual display as much as possible to show performance data. Use branching logic that is consistent with business processes. Allow for user customization to support common actions in the system. Here, for example, like favorite reports tabs and offer intuitive searching capabilities. And next is by considering the resource burden on individuals when recasting performance information by providing a context for the recast and using a short form to structure the recast. So next, the system until sufficient expertise is developed and the important role that people will still play in the performance management process after the technological solution is introduced. Next is ensure the appropriateness and integrity of performance data entered to the system by offering the employees an opportunity to respond to performance feedback, and creating is provide adequate training on the system, including technical training, especially if computer literacy is not a central job requirement for the people who will be interacting with the system. And last is execute a communication campaign to ensure that all those who will utilize the system are familiar and comfortable with the technology prior to its implementation. Okay, so now is the time for a quiz. Anyone wants to try to answer? So here there are 3 questions. The first question is, if you're a manager of a company, will you use technology to do performance management? Why? The second one is, what other technologies will you use in doing your company's performance management? And third is, how do you implement this technology-based performance management system? So anyone, you can try to answer.
Hello, Felicia.
Hello, Robbie.
May I try to answer number 1?
Okay, go ahead.
But please give me a few minutes to prepare the answer.
Okay, Robbie.
Hello, Felicia. May I try to answer number 2?
Okay, Maya, you can try. Anyone to answer number 3?
Hello, Felicia. May I
Yes,
try to answer
you
number 3?
may try to answer number 3.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Felicia.
Okay, Robbie, you can try to answer.
So I would like to answer the first question. If I am a manager of a company, I think I will use the technology to do the performance management because it has so many advantages, such as quick and easy cascading of goals, where effective performance management systems make it significantly faster to link individual goals to the company's mission, and then increase the standardization of management processes and accurate annual performance ratings, facilitating communication between employees and managers. And there are also many other advantages. And of course, those advantages serve everyone involved in the company and support the company's progress in reaching the organizational goals. And that's why I think I will implement the use of technology in my performance management. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robbie, for your great answer.
Okay, I'll try to answer number 2. So the question is, what are the technologies will you use in doing your company's performance management? Yeah, actually, there are a lot of technologies that we can use for our company, but I choose the top 3 based on my opinion. So the first one is a Clear company, where a large employers are looking to create a personalized employee review process will of a Clear company's customizable review cycle. So Clear company's performance management is the only solution that incorporates predictive performance data and automatically understands each employee's role and goals. And then the second one is Illumi, where Illumi helps companies grow leader out of performance review with coaching, career pathing, and development tools. So organizations like Copenhagen Airport and Domino's trust Illumi, and this solution fits perfectly in the segment of the mid-sized to enterprises businesses. And then the last one is 7Gs, is the great choice for HR terms of mid-sized companies. So 7Gs is an employee-first performance management system, which has focused on the under-resources HR teams of small to mid-sized companies. They are very focused on tracking OKR and allowing employees to see how their action are contributing to the overall performance of the organization. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayang, for your great answer.
Hello, Felicia.
Hello, Leka.
Okay, I will answer number 3. Implement a technology-based performance management system. First, I will decide whether to buy or build. And then the second, use change management strategies. And then remember that content is key. And then the last is keep integration in mind. Thank you. That's all my answer.
Okay, thank you, Leka, for your great answer. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so I think there is no question. I guess it's clear enough for you. Hope you all can get the gist of my presentation. Thank you all very much for listening. Hope what I presented to you today can be beneficial for you in the future. Hello, sir. I'm done with my presentation.
There's no question?
Yes, sir.
If they have no question for me. So they understand fully. Well, what's your question? No question? Okay, question. You want to question? There's no question on my
Yes, sir. I closed my presentation as well.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
welcome. Okay. Okay, so when the audience don't give question, it means that they understand fully, yeah. Your explanation is good. So and the audience can also answer the question. So it is I think it is an interesting topic. So because we live in the era of technology, so that in era of new economy, so that so but the message is the telecommuting, so that so if you are the manager, do you agree the telecommuting? You mean that you allow the yeah, if you are the manager, do you agree with the telecommuting? Yeah, with the telecommuting, you allow your people work outside the office, outside the company, so that's so they can work outside the company or the office. But the most important thing that the work must be done, so that finish and work, so that no matter where you do the work, so that it's telecommuting. It's telecommuting. So telecommuting focus on the flexibility, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when you are the manager, do you agree? So when your company, do you want to apply this way, telecommuting, or use technology, or both? Telecommuting also,
We can combine.
yeah.
Combine, sir. Combine.
Combine. Yeah. So telecommuting also use technology, is that right? Technology also use telecommuting also use technology. Without technology, there is no telecommuting, so that yeah. But like so there's one company in Indonesia said the people can work outside. I maybe trans TV, yeah, I don't know, transmedia, yeah, transmedia plus this, yeah, telecommuting. So they employ young people, so that young people, all the employees are young, so that and then they can work outside, they can work everywhere. There's no room, so that anywhere. The most important thing, they can work in the gardens, they can do their job on the floor while sleeping. So that, well, yeah, and then everywhere. So the most important thing, they can finish the job. Yeah, yeah, they can finish the work well. So that is the most important thing. So the employee can come late, so when anytime. Yeah. I still take commute anytime. They can come anytime. Yeah, right. It is transmedia, pronunciation transmedia. Yeah, you can look at, you can find the transmedia how the how the company treats the employees, the people, yeah, in the company. So the people in transmedia are very young, yeah, are young employees, yeah, energetic, right? Yeah, creative, innovative, right? Yeah. So do you if you have a company, which one do you choose? Telecommuting, compliant, or in both ways? If you have company, do you
Depends on the company, sir.
depend? What depend? What depends?
For example, like if we run a company that is the business is about digital or something like program, I think it is flexible. But if we are like selling some things and produce some things, I think it is better in the old way.
Okay, so it depends on what you produce, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it depends. So not all companies can use telecommuting, is that? Like teaching. Okay, we can use telecommuting. So that, like, is it telecommuting? I can work outside the companies, right? I can teach at the university, right? And you can study at home, yeah. And I don't need to come to the office to teach you. Yeah, it's one of the telecommuting, right? Yeah. But when you sell cake, when you producing cake, what can you use telecommuting? What about if you if you produce cakes?
Oh, it's good to use the old way, sir.
Oh yeah. So we cannot use telecommuting, yeah. If we,
yes, we cannot make cake online, sir.
Yeah. How to make cakes, yeah. Is it possible if the employees make the cakes from home, outside, and then the cake is also possible, so right? Yes. Possible. Okay. And how can technology make the people easy in working, like the top management in doing is activities at the office? So the top management use DSS. You know DSS? DSS, Decision Support System, right? I think you used to study SIM, Management Support System, right? Same technology.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So when you talk about technology, you study management information system, is that? So the top management use DSS in making decisions, right? Decision support system to help the managers to decide, right? Like this is DSS. This is technology, right? When you do when you do the computation, right? You use what? Statistics, right? Statistical software, right? It's also technology, right? It can make you efficient in doing the doing the math problems, right? Yeah, it's technology. Yeah. Do you know HRP? The marketing. So, for example, the manager want to choose 3 cars: the blue cars, the red cars, or the yellow cars. So, what is the best? So you can also use technology HRP. This you can find in Google. You can write an hierarchical model. So that in marketing, it is in marketing. So that this is technology, so that in marketing. So this software help the manager to choose which investment can be done. So that is HRP. Yeah, it's for example. Have you studied management system? Have you studied?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep, known, yeah, about the technology, yeah. It's technology, and so the and performance management is the interrelated, so that this is technology, yeah. We talk about technology, so that yeah, computer, internet, that is technology. Okay, so good, yeah. So because your friend have understood, so they have no question to Valencia. Yeah, don't mind. It's good. It's good, yeah, because they understand fully. So if they understand, they must ask you, right? Okay. Thank you, Valencia.
Thank you.
Okay, the last is Dinda, yeah. Hey, Dinda.
Yes, sir.
Dinda.
Yes.
Okay, please, Dinda. It's your time, please, Dinda. Present your.
All right, sir. Let me prepare the presentation.
Yeah.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Dinda.
All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will present about in chapter 14 about performance negotiations and valuing performances. And today we will discuss about employee value proposition, organizational culture, valuing employee performance framework, performance evaluation, rewards management, performance evaluation parameters, and competences. First, we will discuss about performance negotiation. Performance negotiation is the ongoing process by which a supervisor and employee arrive at an agreement about the value of an employee contribution to the business. Now, the term performance negotiation implies that performance requires a give and take, or that it is an interactive process between two or more individuals in order to reach a mutual agreement on outcome. So usually performance negotiation can be done throughout every phase of employee life cycle. It can be during recruitment, it can be during performance, or it can be during when the employee is already terminated. It is a continuously process. So I have the first question. How does the supervisor and the employee come to an agreement? Does anyone want to answer? Want to try to answer? How is there any tools or anything or any thing that the supervisor and employee have to do in order to come to an agreement?
May I try to answer, Dinda?
Yeah, sure, you can try to answer.
Employee and supervisor come to an agreement through performance negotiation. Like talk about the employees' compensations, benefits, career, work environment, and culture.
All right. Thank you. Dita, is it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dita. So Dita's answer is correct. They come to an agreement through performance negotiation. Inside performance negotiations, there are 5 aspects or employee value proposition. Performance negotiation components are mostly known as employee value propositions, where the company offer what the company offer as a value to the employee and what value can employee offer to the company. When it comes to negotiation, it is best to take these 5 aspects into consideration. Usually, performance negotiation is done mostly during recruitment or the last phase of interview phase, especially when it comes to compensation aspects. So usually when we are doing an interview phase, the person that we interview, I usually ask how much is the salary, for example, or how much does the company offer as a salary or the benefits, or what
is the career path for the persons, and then what is the work environment, especially the culture, because the culture is the base for all four of these. In order for compensation, benefits, career, and work environment to work, they need to have a culture which is the base of the company. So usually when the employee and the employee will come to an performance negotiation, what they discuss in the negotiation is at least one or two of these aspects. It can be compensation, benefits, career, work environment, and culture. And I'm going to discuss about one of the most important aspect of this performance negotiation, which is culture, because culture enables everything. Now, culture, or in a nutshell, in a simplified form, is about how we do things around here and the way things are around here. Culture is a set of living relationship working towards a shared common goal. It is not something you are, but something you do that makes you who you are and what you are. Culture creates a base in which sets out the system in how everything inside the institution or the organizational functions. It has norms and it has forms in order to function, but that when combined creates an organizational culture. The first I will present about 6 organizational dimensions according to Hofstede. The first is process versus results. There are process orientation and versus result orientation. The organization that focus on process orientation focus about how things are done and the way we do things, while the one that focus on result orientation focus on the what gets done and the outcome. The second is the employee versus job. The organization that focus on the concern for employee focus on employee satisfactions, while concern for jobs focuses on work and what employees can do. The third dimension is parochial versus professional. Well, the parochial, the identity is taken from the organization itself, while professional, the identity is taken from outside the organization. The fourth is the open versus closed system. Organization with open system is easy to join and it's quickly to get up to speed, while organization with closed system culture is difficult to join and only certain kind of people can fit in. The fifth dimension of the culture is the loose versus tight. Company that has a loose control is very casual and improvise a lot, while organization with tight control culture is very, very serious and focus on punctuality and discipline. And the sixth and last dimension is normative versus pragmatic. Company with normative orientation culture really focus on ideology driven, using the ideology that they focus on, while pragmatic orientation really focus on the market. And the next is I'm going to talk about the culture dimension for organizational culture dimension based on according to Handy. So this is based on the level of intensity of uniqueness or complexity at work process, and then the intensity of rate of change from low to high. There are role which is at the lowest tends to be steady and relatively unchanging or pattern work of a predictable nature, and then there are a high rate of change which is power that tends to be fast-paced work but often limited to the interest of abilities of major power brokers. And then at the highest intensity of complexity of work, person tends to be steady work of a unique nature at the micro level. And the last, which is at the highest rate of change and the highest rate of uniqueness, which is task that tends to be high-paced work of a unique or complex nature. In a nutshell, both of the theories depicted a real-life condition of organizational culture in companies. However, research shown that there are still differences when it comes to the definition of organizational culture in companies. Hofstede Dimensions focuses on how we do things around here, while Handy focuses on the way things are around here. So both of these theories, when combined, can depict the real life conditions of organizational culture in companies. In general, there are 4 types of organizational culture that divided between stability and control, internal focus and integration, external focus and differentiation, flexibility and discretion. There are hierarchy, which is structural, market, results orientation, adhocracy, entrepreneurial, and clan family. To make sure you understand it better, there are example of companies that adapt this one of these organizational culture types. For IKEA, they adapted it. They adopt into clan or family organizational culture types, and for the Apple, they adapt into adhocracy or entrepreneurial organizational culture. For McDonald's, they are very hierarchy or very structural in their culture. And the last is Amazon. They are very result orientation or based on their market for the culture. Now, there are 7 aspects of to build a very, very good organizational culture, but I'm going to focus on high performances. Now, why we focus on high performance is because both organizational and individual self-esteem or confidence is based on high performance, because when performance are high, its values are also high. And when values are high, it can compete and continuously develop towards growth. So self-esteem is not only for just the organization aspect, which is the following performances. Following performance is created and it is not found. So each company has to create their own value. Value is sculpted in organizations, and the tools that are used is usually imperfect. Many variables contribute to the difficulty of measuring or placing value on performances. Now, usually these are the framework that is used to know whether the performances of the employee are valid or not. So there are poor performances, not yet successful, successful performance, which is the standards or the minimum, the exceeding successful performance, and outstanding performances. And usually when employees are in the poor performances, they are consistently fails to meet performance standard, which is the green one. And then for the not yet successful, there requires improvement to meet successful performance, meaning that they are below the standards, but when they are meet successful performance standard or improvement, they can reach the standards. And then for the third is they consistently meets performance standard. And for the fourth, they frequently exceeds performance standards or they overachieve the target, which is the standard. And for the outstanding, they consistently exceed performance standard. For an example, when they are doing their performances, they always achieve or overachieve the standard every time, and they are in the outstanding performances. Now, it relates to the second question: how can we determine the value of an employee? Does anyone want to try to answer about how can we determine the value of the employee? We already have the standards that can help us know which employee in boxes. Now, how do we determine how do we determine that the employee is in their boxes? What should HR manager do in order to know the value of an employee? Does anyone wants to answer?
Dinda, may I try?
Yes, sure.
Again. Wait. We can determine the value of employee through the employee evaluation. Like we can see the business situations, review, analyze, and then through the two-way dialogue, like senior management or the leader, responsibility for developing leadership competencies, and then through the calibrations of review of the employee itself, and then there is a value discussions to understanding between margin performance and the current business situations, also the agreement with the business problems, and the last there is the immediate next steps, like performance is measured regularly, like monthly or quarterly. That's all my answer. Thank you, Dinda.
Okay, thank you, Dita. That is very correct. So in order for HR managers to know the value of an employee is to do a performance evaluations. And performance evaluation is where HR manager evaluate the performance of an employee regularly and consistently. It can be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or even semesterly and annually. And these are the step-by-step in order to do performance evaluation, so that as an HR manager, we can know the value of an employee. The first is we have to do business situation review or analysis. We review business results and discuss a competitive analysis of the situation. We discuss current situation, current progress, future obstacles, targets, and etc. And the second, we conduct two-way dialogue where we take charge in developing leadership competency. These competencies are addressed and enhanced through professional assessments or tools and through suitable feedback channels between the bosses or the manager and the employee. And the third is we conduct calibration or review. We review the state of the performance based on assessment and tools. And we also take feedback channels into consideration. And we focus on performance metrics, competencies, and business outcomes. The fourth is we do value discussion. To reach a common understanding between the margin of performance and current business situation, and also agree with the business problem. And the last is after we do analysis, review, and evaluation, we have to create immediate next step. Performance is usually measured regularly, monthly, or quarterly, and with the creation of immediate next step to tackle any possible problems. Now, the purpose of performance evaluation is to let an individual know how they are doing and where they need to improve to continue in their jobs and receive a wage increase, receive a bonus, or to be eligible for their next assignment. So not only can manager knows about the value of an employee, the employee can also know about their own value. And that is the purpose of performance evaluations. Now, how can the employee know their value is we can use the 9-box grid for talent management. The higher potential and the higher performance the employee is, the bigger their value. For an example, there are 34 employees in a company, and 20% and 20 employee is on the high potential and high performances box, meaning that we have a very we have 20 employee that has a very high value, because the higher their performance and the higher their potential, they also have a high value to the company, and it can be considered for succession or a very, very valuable assets to the company. Now, if you have 34 employees, you also need to have 34 strategy to approach and to develop them. When you have this 9-box, you don't need to create 34 different strategy. You only need to create 9 strategy based on each boxes. So no matter how many employees you have, 100 or even 1,000, your strategy to develop or improve your employee, to approach your employee, doesn't need to change. So no matter how many is it, you only need to know how many employee in each boxes. Now, after you know the value of the employee, it is important to give value to the company, to the employee. So we reach to the rewards management. So rewards management is concerned with the formulation and the implementation of strategy and policy that aims to reward people fairly, equitably, and consistently accordingly to their value of the organizations. The most effective strategy for companies to value workers is a blend of tangible and intangible rewards and recognitions. An ideal reward system would be made of financial and non-financial measures that include bonus, pay hikes or increase, and non-financial measures. Hence, the reward structure in this organization follows the principle of fairness, justice, and equity. The reward system must motivate rather than depress the employees. When you reward your employees for good works after they give you values from their performances and when they achieve their target, they feel valued and more motivated, which can overall boost the productivity and the success of your business. So when it comes to valuing performances, it has to come from both sides. The employee must give value to the company and the company must give value back to the employee. The employee gives value to the company by achieving the targets through its high performances, and the company can give value to the employees through rewards and recognitions in financial or non-financial forms. And the last question for me is, after knowing all the frameworks and parameters that can be used to evaluate employees and to give value to the employees, is there any standards or anything that can help us HR manager in order to know whether these employees are competent or not to receive the awards? For an example, you have 10 employees. What are the standards that can help you to know which employees that deserve to receive an awards, to receive a rewards? Is there anyone who wants to answer?
Hello, Linda.
Hello, Robbie.
So I think the first standard is the knowledge, which includes the information and cognitive domain, and then the attribute, which includes the qualitative aspects, behavior traits, and attitudes, and then the skills like the ability, physical domain, and then the last is job, like the outstanding performance on tasks or activities given to the employee.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. So that is very correct. So the standard is the competence. So each company have their own set of competence, and competence comes from skills, which is the ability and physical domain of employee. And then it also comes from knowledge, information, and cognitive domain. And the last, it comes from attributes, qualitative aspects, behavior, traits, and attitudes. All of these three combined resulted in competence. And when competence is achieved, it results in a job or an outstanding task performance, the activities given. So when an employee can achieve these three competences and can do an outstanding job, they deserve to receive a reward. So each company, each organization has different sets of competence. For an example, there are companies that are heavy on the knowledge. There are companies which competence are heavy or depends more on the skills or the attributes, or there are companies that only depends on knowledge and not skills and attributes. So each companies are differences, but in every company, there is always competence or standards that the company has to live up to, at least to the standards, in order for them to do an outstanding performances on tasks or activities given. When they already achieve the competence, or they know or not achieve the competence, then they can also do the performance evaluation. So performance negotiation is conducted continuously throughout performance evaluation, and performance evaluation is also conducted continuously throughout the employee's performance in the company. Performance negotiation also can be done before we enter the company. Usually when during recruitment, during the employee value proposition, they are interviewer that negotiate on the task, or on the salary that can be given. So that is all. Anyone have any question? I open 3 questions if there anyone who wants to ask. Is there anyone who wants to ask?
Hello, Dinda. May I ask?
Yeah, Dita, sure.
If you have an employee that they have based on the 9th box grid of talent management, in these current situations, they have a low potential and low performance because they have a problems, issue and at their home or at their workplace. How can you handle it because of they have a less motivated? How can you handle the low potential and low performance like that? Thank you, Dinda.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Before I answer Dita's question, is there anyone who would like to ask too? If not, I will answer Dita's questions, how to handle employees in the low potential and low performances, maybe due to problems, personal problems, and then low motivation. The first thing I do is to refer to the performance evaluation, which is the two-way dialogue and calibration or review. The first thing I need to do is, if this employee is not my employee or some another manager's employee, I will approach the manager first to know about what is the current situation, what is the causes for this employee to be in low performance and low potential. Is there any internal factor or is there any external factor that resulted in this employee to have a low potential and low performances? So I need to know about the feedback for, of course, is there any feedback that has been given from the manager? And then I also want to do the calibration or review, which is like to calibrate and improving and reviewing the state of the current performances. If there is an internal issues, we discuss the internal issues from perhaps their team or only from that person that has a low potential and low performances. If it's an external factor, we go back to the business situation and review, perhaps because of COVID or government situation. So we need to know the current situation internally and externally, and after that we can create the immediate next step in order to ensure that this employees is no longer in the low box. So the immediate next step is created between the HR managers, the employee leader or the employee manager, and the employee themselves. The employee needs to do in order to get out of the red box. I hope that answer your question, Dita.
Thank you, Dinda.
Okay, if there is no one else who wants to answer, I would like to say thank you everyone. And thank you Sir Adi, and thank you everyone who already answered the question. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so it's good, yeah. So we have together what Dinda, yeah, Dinda can be a good lecturer in the future, yeah. You can expect systematically, yeah. Good, you have the presentation, yeah. And you had to be a lecturer, Dinda, yeah, in the future. So when you finish your study, continue to the master degree, yeah. After you get from master degree, you can enroll, yeah, in university to be a lecturer. Yeah, good explanation, yeah, good. Yeah. So, the way how to explain, yeah, from the first slide into the next slide, yeah, and then it's very clear and understandable, so that that's basically it. And I think all the audience here understand what your explanation very well, so that they don't also ask you, yeah, because they understand because of the clear explanation, yeah. Okay, very good, Linda. Yeah. So what is your idea in the future? Do you want to be a lecturer, Linda? Do you want to be a lecturer?
No, sir.
So you can be a lecturer. So you can spend well, yeah. You can teach in. Yeah, but do you want to? Do you have an idea to continue study master degree?
I think, sir.
Yeah, you want to continue study, yeah?
It's in my plan.
Oh yeah, okay, good, yeah. Okay. Who will be the next presenter? So next week is the last, yeah, the last meeting, yeah. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
yes, sir.
So will be the SIP center next week on Thursday? Will?
Me, sir.
Who? This Kuliah. Who? Will present next week?
Robbie, me, and Mayang, sir.
Me, sir.
Mayang and?
Me, chapter 15, sir.
Mayang and then?
Robbie, sir.
Robbie. Mayang and? Rido, ya?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next week, ya, the last, ya. Okay. Have all of you presented until next week. Have you all of you presented? Who hasn't got the opportunity to present next week? Okay, so next week it will be the last meeting for me before you have the midterm test. But after the midterm test, it depends on Bu Titi, ya. So if Bu Titi is busy, maybe I still teach you. But if Bu Titi is not busy, maybe Bu Titi will teach you. Okay. So after the midterm, I don't know whether I teach or not. It depends depending on Bu Titi. Yeah. Okay. I think this before we end this lecture, please, as usual, you must give the closing comment. What you have got from this presentation, yeah, and that by your friend. Okay, from Felicia, please.
Okay, sir. So first of all, thank you, Sari, for today's class, and thank you for my friends who have presented their materials well today. And again, I would like to say thank you for listening to my presentation today. I hope the material I presented to you can be beneficial for you in the future. From today's class, I learned about first rankings and then technology-based performance management, and also performance negotiation and valuing practice. Thank you and stay healthy, everyone.
Ya, di Larasati.
Thank you, Sir Adi, and thank you, friends. Such a good material delivery. What I've got from the today lesson is like what is force ranking, what is distributions ranking, and then how to evaluate employee performance. I hope you always stay healthy, and I will see you next meeting.
Okay, Rido.
Okay, so thank you, Sradi, and for the presenter who have given a useful knowledge and good benefit. Hopefully what we have heard, we can understand for the future. So see you next time.
Elin, Kuliah.
Hello, so for all, thank you for the presenter today. And thank you for Sir Adi, and I learned a lot about ranking, negotiation, and also technologies and performance. So that thank you and stay healthy, everyone.
All that Putri.
Thank you, Sir Adi, for today's class and for the friends who listened to my presentation today. And healthy, everyone. Thank you.
Radina Putri. Radina. There's something wrong with Radina. Robi Chandra.
So hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for today, especially for the presenters. From this meeting, I get to know about the use of technology in the performance management and then the force ranking and also the performance negotiation and valuing performances. I think you guys have presented well. Thank you very much. And thank you also to Saradi. Thank you.
Eric Parulian.
So good afternoon, Sir Adi and my friend. Thank you for all of the presenter today for the material you have presented, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the presenter today, and see you next week. Thank you.
Lagi ya.
I want to say thank you for everyone and thank you for the presenters today who deliver their material very well. Thank you.
Noval, please. Noval. Sekolah Noval. Halo, sekolah.
Thank you.
Okay, sekolah Noval, please. Can you hear me?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for Sir Adi for today's class and also for the presenter, Dinda, Alda, and Felicia. I hope we can meet again next week. Thank you.
Okay, Dinda.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for today's class, especially for my fellow presenter, Alda and Felicia. Today, I learned about not only my material, but also about other material about force ranking, and Felicia material about technology and performance. I hope we can see each other again in the next week class. Thank you.
Mayang, Pustasari.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. I want to say thank you for today's class, especially for Sir Adi, Mursalin, and then also the presenters today that already delivered about the force ranking, pro, contra, and practices, and then technology and performance management, and then performance negotiation and following performance. See you next week. Stay healthy.
Okay, Pak Robika.
Good afternoon, sir. I want to say thank you and thank you for all the presenters today. Thank you.
Ella Kumara.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say thank you to today's presenter, Alda, Felicia, and Linda. Hope what they deliver can be beneficial for us. Thank you.
Okay, Bella Sapira.
Good afternoon, Sir Adi and friends. Thank you for today's class and thank you for the presenter. See you next week.
Okay, Rekawati.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Thank you, Sir Adi, for today's class, and thank you for the presenters today. See you.
Okay. Okay, next week, maybe tomorrow or next week or the following day, you can look at the classroom. Yeah, I will post the question and to the classroom, so you must also record the answer, yeah, as usual. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. See you later next week. Keep healthy. See you later. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.